unity. But what is this?
I'm ashamed that the name of Christ has ever been associated with a bomb or an AK-47.
That there was widespread and systematic rape of Muslim women with the intent to purge Muslims from Hindu areas.
The Shia-Sunni divide is a political and religious divide around who was the rightful heir after the passing of the Prophet Muhammad in early Islam.
Isn't it a paradox? Religion teaches us unity. Every major faith speaks of peace, brotherhood, and oneness. Yet throughout history, we have seen deep divisions committed in the name of faith.
We cannot take our eyes off of the Shia-Sunni conflict.
People are sometimes distant by the very thing that was meant to bring them closer. And it's not just religion. Division exists in race, politics, nationality, and even within communities. Everywhere we look, something is pulling us apart. That's the paradox. Unity is preached across all faith, yet we sometimes choose division.
If we want to understand why conflicts are happening the way they are and how these conflicts may be resolved,
in this video, we will explore why conflict and division happen in religion, in race, in politics, in communities. But also, how unity has risen in many places where people chose unity over division. Because unity isn't just an idea, it's necessity.
it is not as if you could say, well, let's just resolve this original dispute over the succession and we can be one.
At their core, all religions share one message. We're all part of something bigger, and we're meant to live in harmony. So, if all faiths speak of unity, why do we see so much conflict in God's name? Why do we see a caste system in religion?
One of our biggest problems right now is the prevalence of the caste system. Who people in India marry, what they eat, and who cleans their toilets.
Why are there internal disputes within them?
Often cited as evidence that Christianity inevitably causes division and bloodshed.
Why do we see conflict within them?
Whether it's the rivalry between Iran and Saudi Arabia or the Syria war, they all involve sectarianism between Shias and Sunnis.
But when we look closer, the problem isn't faith, it's what people do with it. Religion becomes a tool for power, for control, for identity politics. Take the Gujarat riot in 2002. Nearly 2,000 lives were lost, most of them Muslims. It wasn't just a religion clash.
The BBC report said that so much damage could not have been inflicted without the climate of impunity created by the state government.
It was fueled by politics, by those who knew fear could win elections.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi held direct responsibility for the 2002 massacre of Muslims in India.
Take one more example, Yemen. A brutal civil war, driven in part by the Sunni-Shia divide.
How these conflicts may be resolved, we cannot take our eyes off of the Shia-Sunni conflict.
But underneath that, a regional power struggle between Saudi Arabia and Iran, using faith as a front line.
Both Iran and Saudi Arabia have been responsible for escalating this Sunni-Shia divide. And they are doing it for their own geopolitical interests.
Or look at Ireland. From the 1960s to late 1990s, conflict between Protestants and Catholics led to the death of over 3,500 people.
This is Belfast, Northern Ireland, the scene of some truly ugly clashes between Catholics and Protestants.
But at its core, it wasn't just about religion, it's about identity, territory, and political control, with faith drawn into the middle.
Often conflicts that we think of as religious, when we look more closely, about much more than just people's spiritual beliefs.
So, it's not religion that divides. At its core, every religion speaks of compassion, peace, and unity. But throughout history, we've seen how some opportunistic individuals twist those messages, using faith as a tool to gain power and control. The problem isn't the religion itself.
It can be religiously cloaked, it can be religiously justified, but it's a big claim to say that it's religiously motivated.
It's the way some people twist it to create division instead of bringing people together. Take one example of racial conflict. In the United States, after slavery was abolished, a new form of oppression began: segregation.
Each pin on this map marks the location of an attack on Black Americans and their communities.
Black and white people were forced to live separately. Different schools, different buses, different rights. This wasn't just social division. It was backed by law and enforcement through violence. From the 1972 to the 1960s, thousands of black Americans faced racially motivated violence and were silenced simply because of their skin color. In that era, race wasn't just a difference, it was turned into a weapon.
Sociologists and historians often use to describe the country the nadir of race relations in America, the low point of race relations in America, and they use that language.
We have seen how religion, race, and power have created conflict. But history also tells a different story. Moments where people chose unity. Take India's independence. India's fight for freedom wasn't just a struggle led by one group. It was a shared dream. Hindus and Muslims stood side by side, fighting for the same goal, freedom. In 1857, during the First War of Independence, leaders like Mangal Pandey and Bahauddin Shah Jafar, one Hindu and one Muslim, united people beyond religion. They rose up together because they all wanted to end British rule. Decades later, revolutionaries like Ashfaqullah Khan and Ram Prasad worked together in the Kakuri train robbery.
Little did anyone know that this remote journey was about to become a pivotal moment in India's freedom struggle.
Their sacrifice showed their love for the country. Through these moments, we see how Hindus and Muslims stood together, not as members of different faiths, but as Indians, united in their struggle for freedom. Take one more example. After two world wars, Europe was torn apart, cities in ruins, economics shattered, and millions of lives lost. But out of the devastation, something remarkable happened. Centuries that once fought each other chose to unite.
After the horror of World War II, people wanted to find ways to ensure future peace and cooperation between the different countries in Europe.
Not by force, but by shared purpose. The European Union began as a way to prevent more wars through cooperation, trade, and trust.
Europe can only be united by the heartfelt wish and vehement expression of the great majority.
In the 1960s, another powerful example of unity unfolding. The civil rights movement in the US brought together people of all races and religions to stand up against injustice, led by Martin Luther King Jr.
I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land.
It wasn't just about black and white, it was about uniting for dignity and equality. It showed the world that when people come together peacefully, even the strongest system of oppression can begin to fall. Human beings are social creatures. Our survival from the earliest days depended on working together. From hunting in groups to building civilizations, unity wasn't optional. It was necessary. Neuroscience tells us that connection is wired into us. When we cooperate, our brains release oxytocin, the bonding hormone. It makes us feel trust, empathy, and belonging. Studies show that communities are more socially connected, are healthier, live longer, and are more resilient during crises. Even our immune systems function better when we feel supported. Now think about unity from a deeper human point of view. We are all different in background, language, culture, and belief. But deep down, we all want the same things: love, respect, safety, and meaning. Unity doesn't mean we all have to think or live the same way. It means understanding and respecting each other's difference. When people come together despite those differences, something powerful happens. We begin to see ourselves in each other. Instead of asking, how are we different? Unity asks, what do we share? It's about realizing that our lives are connected. When one group suffers, eventually everyone feels it. When we lift each other up, we all rise. From a psychological view, unity helps us build identity and purpose. When we feel isolated, it can lead to anxiety, depression, and even anger. But feeling part of something, a family, a movement, a nation, it gives us strength. It gives our lives meaning. So, what do we take from all this? Division is easy, it's loud, it's visible, and often it's profitable for those in power.
When helpless children and innocent women are burnt, the Supreme Court seems to have a problem with you.
Correct.
But unity, true unity, takes effort. It takes empathy, courage, and the willingness to listen, even when it's hard. History shows us both sides, how we have been torn apart and how we have come together. And every time we choose unity, whether in freedom struggle, peace movements, or rebuilding nations, we created something stronger, something lasting. Unity doesn't mean we all have to be the same. It means we choose to stand together, even when we are different, because in the end, our difference don't weaken us. They add color, depth, and meaning to the biggest picture.